AI isn't just about algorithms and automations anymore. It's a powerful tool to drive equality, inclusion, and innovation across industries. But how do we ensure that technology serves the public good and empowers those historically left behind? Welcome to PhD with Women on IT Hack the Future. My name is Jamil Navarrosa, and today's PhD Positivity Hack Delivered will be by our guest, Orly Lobel. Our topic for today, the Quality Machine, episode 190 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women in IT, an inclusive forum for women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to the hustle because empathy is my module, and empathy is critical to the equality machine. A few mentions for our uh, tech community. Congratulations to our former PhD guest, Natalie Abrahams, for receiving her second Olympus International Award. We celebrate your courage, compassion, and relentless drive to make a difference. Wishing you continued success as you inspire lives and transform community worldwide. Congratulations to Brenda Darden Wilkerson, President and CEO of AnitaB.org, for being named one of the Women in Innovation Award recipients. Your leadership continues to inspire and pave the way for women in tech. Keep shining and leading the way. Hooray to our other former PhD guest, Chair Anderson, on her inspiring talk at the Labor Assistance Professionals Conference in Las Vegas. Thank you for empowering those who work tirelessly to support others through mental health challenges, recovery, and workplace crisis. Here's to continued success as you help others thrive professionally and personally. Now, let's go back to our topic, the equality machine. Join us for our positivity hack delivered with Orly Lobo, Warren Distinguished Professor of Law, award-winning author, and global thought leader on law, technology, and equality. Orly will share how we can harness AI and generative technologies to expand access, uplift women, and create a more inclusive future. With her experience advising the Obama administration, FTC, and United Nations, and her insight as a mentor and leader, she'll inspire you to reimagine what's possible at the intersection of tech, policy, and human potential. Orly, welcome to our show. Where in the world you are today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am here in Southern California in San Diego in my office at the university, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. Um, Tell us about your new book, The Equality Machine, Harnessing Digital Technology for a Brighter, More Inclusive Future. It talks about how AI can really help make things fair. What was your main reason for writing this book, and especially when many people worry about technology?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think I need to even explain how the world is shifting and how we're all talking about AI, learning about AI, using AI, developing, designing. And so I wanted to write a book that was more balanced and more positive and cautiously optimistic than a lot of the very alarmist books and conversations that we've been having. So I kind of saw a conversation that was very bifurcated, very kind of with this tension and conflict between those who were the techno optimist and those who were the techno alarmist, and not a lot kind of in between of really looking in a nuanced way, fact-based, empirically through the research and the best case stories on how we can harness, as the subtitle suggests, or channel this technology to benefit all of us, to benefit equality and all the things that we value in a democratic society.
It's amazing that it got such great reviews. How has all this positive feedback changed how you approach your work and your mission to talk about tech and fairness?
Yeah, no, it's been super rewarding. So the book came out around the time that generative AI started exploding, and ChatGPT came out, and just there's been such big adoption, so much interest, and the book was selected by The Economist, the magazine, The Economist, as the best book of the year, and I got to speak to so many different communities. So you mentioned the United Nations. I just went to Geneva to speak about AI for good at the United Nations in Geneva, and then the EU annual meeting in Florence, and I was a G7 representative of the World Economic Forum in Japan to talk, kind of consulting the Japanese government on digital transformation. And so what I can say is that every time I have these kinds of exchanges, I learn so much from, what's happening in the world, and all these wonderful, creative, conscientious people who are contributing to that direction, to the positive direction. And this is not to deny that there are risks, and there have been wrongs, and there have been fails, and that we're talking about a technology that's so powerful that, as every technology, it's what we call a dual use tool. So it can be deployed for really positive things like inclusion and access, and accelerating accuracy. So the book looks at a lot of different areas, and we'll talk about some of them, I'm sure, but like it goes from the workplace to health and medicine, and to our private lives and family relations, and consumer markets, and enforcement of different regulations. So there's kind of a big range, and there's always, potential of abuse. But the biggest thing about the book is, I think that it empowers people to be part of the conversation and part of the work, the hard work of really making sure that the technology is working for us, and not kind of the other way around, so that we are informed and we are empowered to kind of speak truth to power, to be part of the conversation from within, to have skin in the game, as I talk about in the book, rather than just kind of being from the outside and just being passive consumers of what a handful of tech companies is giving us.
It's amazing. And in your research for the Equality Mission, you've explored many areas where tech helps with fairness. Beyond examples in your book, can you share a specific instance where you witnessed technology creating a surprising positive impact on equality?
Yeah. So let me start with health. So I think that's, an area that has so much potential, but there's also a lot of fear by patients and even doctors about like whether AI will replace, humans in medicine, and is it accurate or not? So two examples that are near and dear to my heart. One is how we've been automating through algorithms the process of diabetes care. So I describe in the book how my family, like millions and millions of other families around the world, are part of the diabetic or diabetes families who have children with type 1 diabetes. And of course, there's also such prevalence of type 2 diabetes that's rising in the world. And nowadays we have devices that are wearable. So we have the insulin pump and we have the continuous glucose monitor, CGMs. But the big revolution of AI is that these two different wearables that can be on different parts of our bodies and that are each connected to our iPhones or other devices, they now speak to each other and can be in a closed loop that's FDA approved. It's approved by, here, the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, but in other places also, as a medical system that makes completely autonomous decisions, kind of taking the human out of the loop. And it's just life-saving. It just turns out that we as humans become very depleted and just fatigued, tired, inaccurate when we're monitoring such a tasking disease, 24/7. But machines can do it better. So that's one example. Another example that I describe in the book, again, very important to women and access to health, is the introduction of automation and algorithms that are screening for breast cancer. So AI in radiology and mammograms. I interview in the book the woman at MIT who developed these first systems, and she herself, it's a personal story for her because she's a computer scientist who was working on completely different areas, not AI and health. But when she herself at an early age was diagnosed with breast cancer, she describes how it was a moment where she thought, well, we can use this powerful technology to not only improve the accuracy of the way that we diagnose disease, but also lower the cost dramatically and scale this to allow women all over the world to have this kind of access. Because of course we can't replicate ourselves. There's so many countries that have very acute scarcity in medical services and the number of physicians per capita that they have. I actually very recently traveled to Bhutan, to the Kingdom of Bhutan, and I met with the Minister of Health there and other people from government. And it was so moving to me to see how in a kingdom like Bhutan, where it's a very small country and not so much resources, it's still very developing, they are understanding how they need to embrace AI to develop more quickly and to allow more people to have access to better care, better health.
Thinking back to your speech at UN's AI for Good Summit, that must have been a powerful experience. What was one big idea or a personal realization that truly resonated with you about the global effort to use AI for good?
Yeah, so I think that's a part of how kind of I just described, where we have there's a quote that I like by William Gibson. The future is here. It's just not evenly distributed, which is kind of like a lot of times in history, we have the resources, the technology, the innovation, the knowledge, but it's not spread evenly. And a lot of places, a lot of demographics are kind of not benefiting. And in the United Nations Summit, it was, again, really rewarding to see how we're bringing together countries that have different starting points, different resources, but AI can be the great equalizer. It can really level the playing field to create more of that richness of resources and to enable more connectivity, which is again for women empowerment. In the book, I look a lot at data on how women around the world and girls, just by having like access to a handheld device that is connected by Wi-Fi, that is a huge step toward financial independence, toward more access to education, and to just more equality and inclusion in different societies.
You often deal with very complex ideas in law and technology. Can you share a specific challenge you faced when trying to explain this difficult concept to others, and how you made them easier to understand?
Yeah, I'm not a computer scientist, and I don't program and design algorithms normally, even though I do it with co-authors from other disciplines in my research. And so for me, it's actually kind of similar with my readership and audience, that I have to kind of learn and translate things that are very scientific and very kind of dense from one discipline to my own kind of more lay understanding. And so I think what I am saying in the Equality Machine is that we can do that we can actually, especially these days with access to large language models that are helping us program, even though we don't have a degree in computer science. They're helping us design, better art, even if we're not an artist, or do music, even though we're, if we're not pianists, we can still, create great tunes. And so I think it's I think about the message as an enabler that will be more confident to engage with the technology, even if it's very complicated. The technology itself is by its nature, it's complex, and in a lot of ways it's opaque. We hear about the black box of AI where us humans cannot understand how it's reasoning, all the neural networks that are kind of deep learning and really powerful, more powerful than us, which is part of its attraction. It is its major comparative edge that it's so strong. But the message is that we don't have to understand what is happening kind of below the surface in order to play with it, experiment with it, learn about it, use it, and push for designing it in ways that are inclusive.
Many of our viewers are looking for guidance. What unique advice would you offer to females navigating their career paths or embarking on an entrepreneurial journey in today's tech-driven world?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions as I travel the world about whether AI will replace us, whether there won't be, any jobs left. I already mentioned, like doctors, are they going to be replaced by bot radiologists, but it's really in every industry there are questions. Actually, I'm wearing my Comic-Con Superman shirt today, or Supergirl, because today is the first day here in San Diego of Comic-Con, and I'm speaking, and one of the invited speakers at the conference. So I'm going today. And there's, of course, a lot of fear among artists, among designers and creators of comics about generative AI. There are fears among attorneys. Like I train law students. I'm a law professor here at University of San Diego. So all of this to say, every profession will change, but I think what I like to say is that AI won't replace us. We should fear more being replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI than by being replaced by AI itself. I think that the history of humanity has shown us that there's always kind of these cycles where there are technology and industrial revolution and post-industrial revolution brings some change in the job market, which means some job loss, some job creation, some job transformation. But there is very much always a continued role for humans. And so my biggest advice is just to allow yourself to learn, to experiment, to use the tools, to not shy away from them. They are becoming much, much more user-friendly. So, for example, I advise always to create competition between the different products that are out there. So open Claude and Perplexity and Gemini and ChatGPT, like on 4 different browsers, and give them the same prompts and see what you like, and what makes more sense. And so again, allowing yourself to learn, and then be proactive about finding opportunities to connect with others, to go to these kinds of events, and just being part of the new conversations.
We have a very good comments here from Jane. Right? Says, "Hello, ladies. Looking forward to listen to today's episode." And from Olga Basina, say, "Yay, Comic-Con!" Feel free to join, ladies, and ask questions and early. So, as you travel and speak, you must get, of course, a lot of questions about AI and fairness. What's the most thought-provoking question someone has ever asked you about this topic, and how did it make you think differently?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm always getting really thought-provoking questions from my students, from my colleagues. I would say there are really legitimate questions about the risks. So one of the things that I try to do in the book is make some like sense and place some order in categorizing the kinds of things that we fear. And I always want us to fear the right things and not the wrong things. So, for example, there are a lot of questions about whether AI will just replicate the same biases that we've had, like sexism and racism, and whether when AI is trained on all the data of the world, whether that means that it will, again, just spit out things that are unfair and unjust. And so I take a lot of kind of time and focus in the book to unpack that and to say, look, yes, we have that risk if we don't do it right. So if we're just designing an algorithm to simply mimic injustices that we've had before, then it's going to be really troublesome. But I show that there are new gold standards in how we design the AIs and how we do audits and how we create more choice to avoid those kinds of risks. And I show that a lot of problems are actually not due to the fact that AI is just mimicking past wrongs, but the fact that we haven't trained it with enough representative data. And on that point, there's a very active debate that I engage with on like the future of privacy versus the need for more training data and kind of the correction of missing data sets that has always been part of our realities, that we don't have enough studies, for example, about women's health. And so a lot of these tensions, I would say, between privacy and the need for more representative and complete data and innovation that comes from more knowledge, between speech and equality, between openness and competition. All of these tensions, what I show in the book is that they've always been part of the ways that we have to create just societies. These are not necessarily new questions. There've always been these kind of conflicts between our values and goals, and we can't always get everything at the same time. But what I do in the book is show how, again, we can use technology to mitigate these tensions and to move us along in that way of like getting both privacy and more complete data by using technology to protect the technology that's being mined and protect anonymity and kind of de-identification. So again, this is kind of an optimistic response to, yes, we have to be thoughtful about what we're doing. Yes, absolutely, there can be risks, but we have to find these solutions. Because I guess I'll say one more thing is that, like, we are here. The train has left the station. We are in an era of AI. The nature of technology is that we, like, once it's been developed, we're not, kind of like putting it back in the bottle. Even if you don't love it, you have to learn to love it because it's here.
Speaking of questions, we have a question from Olga Vasina. Are there any lessons we can draw from Comic-Con in relation to today's topic? Loving the show, Orly and Jimmy.
Yeah, hi Olga. I'm so happy you're asking this because Comic-Con starts today, and it's my first time being an invited speaker, and I'm taking the whole family. And yes, it's very much related to today's topic. I am speaking about AI and comics, and I'm going to talk about how there, just the past few weeks, there were two major decisions in lawsuits that were filed against two major large language models. So against Meta and against Anthropic, which makes Claude. And as you know, there are many other lawsuits going on right now, but we have these two decisions about whether training an LLM on like all the writing, all the books, all the pictures, images of the past histories of humanity is an infringement on the creators, the original creators' intellectual property, on their copyright. And so these are major decisions that we were kind of anticipating, looking for. And again, still the law is unfolding. But what we have from these two decisions is, I think, what has been my stance, which is that when an AI is training on the past creativity of humanity, it is not infringing on copyright, because it's just learning, it's just getting inspiration from like all the styles and the art and the kind of ideas of the past, and it's becoming a more powerful tool. And in that sense, it's very, very similar to how we all learn. So one of the judges in these two cases says, you know, it's just like a kindergartner, like she goes to a museum, you take your kid to a museum and she's looking at all the art, and she gets inspiration. Her brain becomes more like artistic. That's not infringement on somebody else's copyright. So it's not like it's copying, you know, exactly the past work. It's just becoming more artistic. So I think that's right. I think that's the right stance, that if the new works that the LLMs are creating are transformative enough, they're not just like, you know, direct copies, that should be allowed.
We have another question here from Jane. What should a society design around machine equality look like? Just thinking, if AI could treat everyone fairly, if we met the certain society built with or embraced with AI.
Yeah, I mean, those are, thanks. Like, it's, Jane, those are some of the toughest questions. And I already kind of mentioned that we want the AI to be trained on representative data and complete data. So it learns about all of us, not just specific demographics. We want to account for the kind of what it's spitting out. So, for example, if you're using an algorithm to decide whose resume of a job applicant gets selected for a job, you want to make sure that you're designing this software to, in real time, do audits of fairness, so that it's not choosing just one demographic over others. That's kind of low-hanging fruit, but I will say something much more kind of broad and systemic. What we want to design AI to benefit everybody. So in that sense, we need to look at the comparative advantage of different like ways that we do things. So for example, you can ask me, and this is like always something that people fear, should we move to self-driving cars, like fully automated cars? And my answer is that that's an empirical question. And I think they are very soon ready. If self-driving cars are ready to be deployed on the street and they're safer from the human driver. So I think that will be an equality machine for several reasons. One, it will be more environmental to have fewer cars that are driving people around, and we wouldn't need to manufacture, so many cars that are like, each of us has a car that we use only like, maybe a half an hour a day. They will, be electric, and they will save a lot of time. And hopefully we'll be able to like get the AI to get us the safest routes, the most like fastest, and they'll save a lot of time for society. And maybe most importantly, they will include people who have different abilities and weren't able to drive before, people with sight impairment and with different disabilities. So kind of thinking about these opportunities of using technology to be inclusive, to be the kind of for the benefit, to support access for, again, people with physical or other impairments, or people who are in the developing world who weren't connected before. On that, I'll just say that, when I think about designing equality machines, I alluded to this in some ways, but I think it's very important to have competition in the market so that it's not just a handful of corporations that are designing and owning all the technology. So there are some efforts, some countries that are developing public models that are completely like owned by the public. And I think that should be somewhere where we put a lot of effort.
Thinking about the future work, and speaking about more flexible and inclusive work environments, how can it benefit for women?
Yeah. So many different ways. But let me talk about one big way. So technology in general has always been a great kind of supporter, when used correctly and deployed well, for the inclusion of women in the market, in society. We talk about the invention of the washing machine and the dishwasher as one of the ways and one of the kind of moments where women were able to gain more time, because they have always taken so much more of the role of housework, and suddenly they could enter the job market. So that's kind of in past revolutions. Thinking today about, and we haven't actually talked about this, but in the book I do a lot of work in kind of talking about not just AI as kind of like an abstract disembodied LLM, large language model, but also robotics, embodied like robots that are helping at home. There's lots of visions about how, ranging from personal assistants all the way to like a full-blown robot that is like a housekeeper who's folding the laundry and doing a lot of the housework. We still are in a world where women have a second shift. Even when they are working in the job market full time, they come home and they on average, do much more of caretaking, of looking after the children, and doing more around the house. And so I think that we really should, as women, get excited about specifically the potential of AI and robotics to alleviate that second shift, to make our home lives, our intimate relations, our family lives, our marital relationships more equal.
Thinking about how much jobs and skills are changing, what's one out of the box skill or way of thinking you believe will become super valuable for folks as AI keeps growing?
Thinking out of the box for I think thinking about how to scale yourself, if you will. I think I describe in the book like this vision of my mini me. Time is the most valuable thing that we all have in our lives. Even though we can also talk about how AI is contributing to longevity and increasing our lifespan, but still we are here for a limited time on Earth. And if we can think about how to kind of create a mini me who is our like companion in life, that has our history in mind, that knows us, knows our preferences, and serves us, again, not kind of from above, like as a corporation learning my preferences as a consumer, but really kind of integrating as my little mini me bot, my histories, my passions, my desires, my kind of visions and goals for the future, and just supporting me in that way. It can be, like, I think, really revolutionary, of just kind of born with me. And this, again, it's something that I kind of describe in the book as the vision of like a robot that is born at the day I'm born, and from birth to kind of to older life is part of me.
We all face tough challenges. Can you tell us about a specific complex problem you encountered in your career or research, and how you uniquely went about solving it?
I think, I already talked about kind of the work-family balance. I went on the job market, on the teaching job market, after I finished my doctoral studies on the East Coast. When I was with two babies, I have three girls, but the two older ones were babies. So I had a 2-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old daughter, and I was nursing and flying to job talks, and it was tough. It was like I was pumping, and I mean, I don't know that I like solved it, but I just for our listeners and kind of thinking about advice for work-family balance, I think one is to be kind to yourself, like to remember that it is really important to be at a place where you feel good and you're valued. So for me, for example, it wasn't, when I went on the job market, I really made sure that I'm not just selecting the like highest ranked school, law school, to start my teaching career at, but I chose a place where I could balance and have, you know, good life work, just kind of set up. And also, and this is again the kind of the second point about, and it's easy to say, of course, I hesitate to say this like as advice, like operationally, because it's hard, but I really do believe that having a good life partner who is supportive of, you know, where you have a relationship that both people are supportive of each other's careers is really, really key. And so my husband and I, my husband is also a professor and sometimes my co-author, we chose, again, a place where we would, neither of us would be commuting, and we took, you know, pretty equal roles in childcare and all that. So, and just I'll say, just kind of as a final thought, is that careers are not linear. Like, again, when you're thinking, everybody faces challenges, as you said. And I always remind myself that it's not like there's one path or one timeline or one step or achievement that you have to get in order to realize, you know, your career plan or career goals. It's, the road is windy, things, you know, work out, and just kind of keep with it. And it will just doing what you love, I think, will be the most important advice that anybody can give you.
That's beautiful. And let's talk back about skills. In your opinion, what are the top 3 soft skills that all career-driven females should focus on developing to excel in their fields?
Yeah, I mean, especially since we're talking about AI, I think it's really important to think about your comparative advantages versus like skills that are being replaced by AI. So I think the most important skill for anybody is to be flexible and be open to shifting, learning, changing, transitioning, engaging, working and collaborating with others. And so I like sometimes when I kind of got some early career advice, this idea of thinking about 3 buckets of mentorships that you have, and then like learning from that also about yourself. So having, I said, you know, being in this kind of collaborative, open community and in your career paths, I would say having a mentor that is ahead of you in their careers. So kind of somebody that you admire, that you want to emulate, finding those kinds of relationships. That's one. Second is a mentorship of somebody who's your peer, who's at the same stage in their careers, and you become like supporters and buddies in this long, windy path. And they don't have to be in your field. It can be somebody that you really trust, and you can kind of coach each other and share difficulties and ideas and brainstorm. And then finding somebody who is in an earlier stage, that's number 3. So kind of like thinking about yourself as a mentor and a mentee of others at those kind of three different stages, I think that's a really good skill to have, because first of all, you're giving to others, and that's very, very rewarding, and a good in itself. But also, I think you learn about yourself when you are kind of learning and teaching others.
For someone who feels a bit overwhelmed by all the new technology, it can be tough to know where to start. What's one practical or easy tip from your book, The Equality Machine, on how they can start feeling more comfortable and positive about using tech in their daily lives?
Yeah, well, reading the book and connecting. So I love hearing from readers where they say, I wasn't comfortable saying, even talking about like what is an algorithm and what is a large language model and what are like generative AI versus like embodied robotics. And so just kind of becoming comfortable with some of the terms as they are explained in an accessible way. And then what I said, like playing with the products that are out there, giving yourself kind of some challenges. Like today I'm going to create, like some presentations using new tools. And again, this is going back to the theme that I was talking about with like community and mentorship, really connecting to a network. And again, I love hearing from readers. I love when people share reviews, and there's the book, and like on Goodreads, on Amazon, and on Audible, and all that, like and then just like finding me, on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the social media out there. Just like I love connecting, and I know just like from experience, people in general, like if you saw somebody, read something, have questions to anybody, most people just really like connecting and staying in touch and interacting. So really kind of feel confident to do so.
We all get help along the way. Is there a particular person who you are very thankful for, or who helped you get to where you are today?
Oh, so many. So many. I mentioned already my husband, Anamir. He's sometimes my co-author. I'm just really grateful that like we've been so supportive of each other and raising our three girls. But my parents have been real inspirations. Also went through a lot of challenges and have always kind of been positive and giving. And then all my mentors in my graduate programs, I clerked for an amazing justice in the court, and just seeing his ethical kind of deep commitment to justice and fairness and equality in kind of a very reasoned, fact-based, like empirical way, not just kind of abstract, but really tethered to what we really are asking, has been really inspiring, and it continues to be with me to this day.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are in hot water." How are you in life? How are you in hot water, Orly? How are you brewing?
Literally, I am not sure. Yeah, like, okay, well, I guess this is a good time to talk about like another like huge life like hack or tip that I would give anybody, which is like when we talk about staying balanced, it's really also just taking care of your body and like managing stress through being active. So I'll mention that I love running. I have a really great group of girlfriends who are my running buddies, and we travel to half marathons and just kind of running is there's a beautiful book that's called What I Think About When I Think About Running. And it's like that process of, so as an author, kind of running and writing, there's a lot of connections there. I also do yoga and play tennis and now pickleball and some spinning and like weightlifting. So I guess that should be a response to the hot water question.
What is the number one book you can sit and think, oh, I wish I read before I started my career?
I don't know that there's like one book. I will say a whole category of books. I love campus novels, so I'll put Elena Ferrante, her four Napoli books, Richard Rousseau, Straight Man, David Lodge's books about academia, like these satire. Perfect novel by John Williams that's called Stoner. All of them are books about life on campus, life as a writer, life as an academic, as a teacher. And the reason I would wish I had read all of those are that, and I think this is true beyond academia and beyond being a professor, is that life has a lot of absurdities. Life has a lot of weird, funnier than art moments where people are just, can be annoying, faculties can be annoying, like life can be just like overwhelming. And it's just a good reminder that like everybody goes through these things. Everybody suffers, I think, in some ways from like anxiety of whether they're in the right place, of whether they've done enough, of whether like they have an imposter syndrome, of whether and how they should like do it all. And so just not taking everything too seriously. I think that kind of genre of books that are like parodies of my work life have been really fruitful for me.
Let's imagine that you could meet anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would it be and where would you choose to meet?
Yeah, I love that question. And when I think about it, I kind of think about my grandmother, Dora, who died way too young, and I was only 6 months old. So my brother Dory is named after her. And I would just have a breakfast in her kitchen. She was a Holocaust survivor, and she escaped Vilnius, Lithuania, because she was 18 and she was sent to study pharmacology in Western Europe, and then escaped the Nazi regime. All her family was killed, and she chose life. Like even though she lived in such tragic circumstances and times, she chose to learn. She chose to embrace friendships. She would. This is what I kind of heard from my mom. She was like a big reader. She loved studying languages. She loved all these fun games. Like she played bridge. So I just wish I had some time with her.
That's beautiful. And for our last question today, can you please give us your favorite life lesson quote?
Life lesson quote. So, I have a few, but I know we're kind of like reaching the end of our program. So, um, I love the quote from Laurel Ulrich, who says, "Well behaved women seldom make history." And this is a show about women and tech. And so, like be out there, challenge authority, think outrageously, think outside of the box, and let's make history.
Thank you so much, Shirley. And that's it from 190 of the PhD live stream. Thanks to our guest, Orly Lowell. And we have a last comment here for our biggest supporter, Patrick L. Young. I feel with Patrick's opinion. Terrific show, Orly and Jimmy. Thank you and enjoy Comic Con or hashtag jealous. to
Thank
stay
you.
updated. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack delivered, follow Women on IT and turn on notifications to be alerted once a video has been released. Thank you so much for our commentators today, Jane and Olga Basina, and of course, Patrick Elia, and our production team, Natalie Racy and Janela. As always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking only and goes look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little harder. Today is your day. Hack the future and hack the positivity you want. Thank you.